Hello, I'm Super Orange Cat here. I'm today with a very big news update to do here for Toonami. So first, let's get right into it. Toonami's news update for this day, January 20th, 2022. First big thing in news is that One Piece is back on Toonami. One Piece has a history on Toonami. It was on the Cartoon Network run. It was on for a while. It might have been on the Cartoon Network run until Toonami ended on Cartoon Network. It was put on Toonami on Adult Swim, I think in 2013, and it lasted through 2017, where it was pulled, interestingly enough, for low ratings and the high cost to run it. But we have One Piece back, and it will be airing this upcoming Saturday. So 2 days from today, this upcoming Saturday at 1:30 and 2 a.m. So to sum things up, the schedule for this upcoming Saturday will be Blade Runner Black Lotus, Assassination Classroom, Made in Abyss. Made in Abyss is shifted up to 1 a.m. I'll note that. One Piece at 1:30, One Piece at 2, Naruto Shippuden 2:30, Naruto Shippuden 3, and Cowboy Bebop at 3:30. And there's a lot to speculate about this because One Piece had kind of become a meme among anime viewers and among Toonami fans about kind of being a show that failed on Toonami multiple times. But yet again, here we are. It's back. Which the only thing I could think of, there's two possible theories. One, Konami got a good deal from, I believe Toei has the rights, I believe, to the dub. I know they give it to Funimation, but I don't know who actually owns the rights. Who would negotiate with Warner Media about putting it on Toonami? But either they drop the price, which is the unlikely one, or two, they just nut up and just threw a bunch of money at it. Because again, like I mentioned earlier, it was apparently a very expensive show to run back in the mid 2000s, which is why it initially got taken off the block. And we'll be starting, I believe, with episode 516. I'm not that privy to One Piece. I don't exactly know which arc it is. All I know is that it's post time skip, if that helps you, Manny. But someone did the math and said if One Piece stayed on Toonami and they did this typical air one episode, new episode per week, we would have gotten all the way roughly to where we are now, give or take a few weeks. That's interesting to note as well. So if you're watching one episode a week out there, but most people, come on, let's be honest, this is the what's it called, the binging generation. So you probably made it much further than that. It's interesting they made that decision, considering I know there was a big hullabaloo when One Piece got added to Toonami way back, like in the mid 2010s, to Toonami, where they had to literally do a commercial to say, "We are starting at this episode." It's I think it was like 186 or whatever. We're starting here, and I think that's hilarious. They almost have to do that for this show too, because I think a number of people they'll come in and fully expect to see the very first episode of One Piece, which they will not be getting. And again, there's just a lot to speculate about this. I think it's more of a Hail Mary move. A lot of people are like, oh, great wheel and dealing, four-dimensional chess. I don't think it's four-dimensional chess. I just think they're kind of desperate and like, well, One Piece is still a big name. And that's another thing. It's still a big name, but I think it's very interesting where we get One Piece right around the point where you can seriously argue that One Piece isn't the largest, biggest anime in the world right now. I think that title's now belonging to Demon Slayer. So that might lead more credence to the theory that the license got a little cheaper because again, it's not as valuable. And if Toei or Funimation or whatever can get chump change from Toonami for this, they'll be willing to take that probably. And that's what my thought is about One Piece. Considering this is nowhere near being a dub premiere, I think that's what happened. And the initial news reaction to this was pretty hilarious. It's the typical thing when something that happens on Toonami breaks through to like general anime or general community. The first reaction was, "Oh, I remember what Toonami. I liked that back in the day." And then the second reaction, "Wait, it's still a thing." Really, that's like half the comments. Like, "Oh, Toonami's still a thing." Well, it's like nostalgia again because it's Toonami and One Piece for the third time. But I digress. That's interesting. Also, interesting thing I just mentioned too. Made in Abyss actually gets a bit of a promotion because of this, up to 1 a.m., which I think is fitting, considering I'll go a little later into the ratings, and you'll understand why I think it's a good decision to move Made in Abyss a little bit. Again, there you go. One Piece back on Toonami, starting this Saturday. No, 2 days from now. So we're jumping right into the ship right now. We're jumping right on the ship here. Again, One Piece at 1:30 and another episode of One Piece at 2 a.m. Second big news is we have an actual air date now for Shenmue. Not only that, we get an air time. Shenmue, we got a trailer yesterday from it, and I'll share my thoughts on the trailer in a moment. But Shenmue will be debuting on Toonami, the Toonami slash Crunchyroll slash Warner Media slash whatever original will be airing on Toonami on February 5th at 12:30 a.m., presumably after Black Lotus or whatever they decide to put at midnight. And again, so might as well jump. I don't have much of an opinion on Shenmue as an IP. I didn't even know this was like a thing until Konami's like, oh, we got Shenmue, and people's like, I remember that game. I'm like, oh, I don't really know much about it. All I know about Shenmue is what was in the trailer. So if the games vary from what's in the trailer, then I have no idea what's going on. But yeah, you have the trailer. Basic premise is a teenager sees his dad get his ass kicked by some like Shaolin master, and he's like, "Hey, don't do that." So he has to fight the Shaolin master, and like the Shaolin master wants the One Piece, except for there's two One Pieces this time. So yeah, they're going after that, and that's like the plot or something. And what I noted from the animation, the trailer, is that there was a disproportionate for a trailer. So, no, this is like the 2 minutes of animation you are bringing to the table to get people to want to watch the show. A lot of still moments. Like, go back and watch it. You have a lot where the characters are standing around doing nothing, a lot where like one small thing is moving. And outside of like a couple where they get really dynamic with like people getting kicked and stuff, it just, and this is what I'm heading at. I fully expected Shenmue to be at the absolute earliest coming out in the summer. So it coming out early February was a bit of surprise, considering this is a much more recently announced show than Blade Runner Black Lotus, much more re, um, earlier mentioned show than Fana, later mentioned show than Fana, and also definitely much later mentioned than Uzumaki, which we're getting in the fall. So it coming out in February was pretty much a surprise for me. And my theory is they probably made shortcuts. And you will definitely see shortcuts made in the animation because that's by far and away the most time exhaustive process of animation is making the animation itself. And that's something I think you should stay tuned to when it comes out. And it's like you can compare it to something like a Blade Runner Black Lotus, except for this appears to be 2D. Blade Runner Black Lotus is motion capture 3D. And although that was very janky, I think people just kind of got used to Blade Runner Black Lotus's animation after a while. It'll be interesting to see if Shenmue ends up well animated. No, this was the same fear I had with Fana. And Fana, that ended up being probably the biggest plus for the show is how beautifully Fana Pirate Princess was animated. But again, interesting. We're getting Shenmue very soon. So that's to the third Saturday from now, February 5th at 12:30 a.m. We don't know the rest of that schedule. Stay tuned here. When I get that schedule, I'll make you know of it. So now, going to the final bit of news I have, and that is Konami's ratings for this past Saturday, that being February 15th, 2021. At the top of the block, we had Blade Runner Black Lotus at a 0.12, the Assassination Classroom at a 0.11, the Assassination Classroom at a 0.09, Made in Abyss at a 0.10, Naruto Shippuden at a 0.09, Naruto Shippuden at 0.08, and the Cowboy Bebop at 0.07, and Ye Old Cowboy Bebop at a 0.07. These ratings were pretty similar to last week. Makes me think that this is kind of the new homeostasis. This is the new equilibrium. I think these are the numbers you should come to expect when you get to Konami now. Blade Runner Black Lotus is not going to call up to 0.2 Magic Land. We're never going to see that. And we're probably never going to see that from Premiere again. Don't expect Shenmue to get there. Because when Blade Runner Black Lotus ends, you know they're moving Shenmue up to midnight, by the way. We're gonna put their biggest money investment up front. Even with having One Piece and even having something which I think will prove to be a cult smash and Made in Abyss, as I'll point out in a moment, on the block, they have to put their money. You have to think about the green first. And Assassination Classroom was actually kind of a disappointment last week. This week the overall average was about the same for the two episodes. Like the first half hour went up 1/100th, the second half hour actually went down 1/100th, which doesn't mean much, I guess. I guess it retains pretty well from Blade or Black Lotus, and that's what all you have to ask for. Made in Abyss, why I'm saying it's gonna be a smash hit. First off, it built off the second episode of the Assassination Classroom. So again, always it's automatically a plus we build on the show in front of it, in my opinion. Made in Abyss, and I watched that episode. I decided against making a formal review of it because it's not brand new. It's 4 years old at this point. But by the way, I'm probably gonna do one for an actual one for Shenmue because it'll be a brand new show at that point. So stay tuned for that back in way over in February. But again, it was a great episode, by the way. It was the type of episode that you checked off all the quote unquote checked off all the boxes for what you want in the first episode. You got intrigue, you've got world building, you've learned enough about the main character, you've learned enough about the side characters, you get a feel for all their personalities, and also you set up the general motivation of the characters too. That being Rico wanting to be basically like her mother, who is seen as these like high level explorer. And I really loved it. I've heard stuff gets really messed up later on, and I'm excited to see how fucked up it gets. And then Naruto Shippuden, it did Naruto Shippuden stuff. And by the way, I fully expect that this is also one upside to having One Piece back to block. It's gonna help Naruto Shippuden with the whole burn off for episodes and burn off time at the end of the block roll. I wouldn't be surprised if sometime later we end up getting all new episodes of stuff, but then you have like One Piece and Naruto Shippuden right at the end, maybe 1 hour each, like at 2 a.m. and then 3 a.m. for an hour. I would not be surprised we see that eventually, especially when we inevitably get Attack on Titans part 2 of season 4 coming on the block, probably sooner rather than later. I expect that to be the next news show announcement for whenever the next news slot comes up, which is probably when Blade Runner Black Lotus gets up. So you'll probably in a few weeks when Blade Runner Black Lotus ends, you will see probably Blade Runner Black Lotus have to get shifted to the end of the block. We'll probably see Shenmue moved up to midnight, and I fully expect Attack on Titan to be pushed to 12:30. And then probably Made in Abyss, and then we'll figure stuff out with One Piece, Naruto, and Cowboy Bebop might still be around at that point. But again, and that's just how I think they'll do in the future. But yeah, and really, so to sum up things up, this was a pretty okay ratings week for Toonami. It's nothing special, but again, we've had worse weeks recently, so it's at least not that. What do you guys think? Massive amounts of news to report today. Again, One Piece back on Toonami. What's your thoughts on that? And Shenmue has a date and a time picked out for its debut on Toonami. Leave your comments, leave your opinions down below. If you like this, subscribe on YouTube or BitChute, wherever you're watching this. I am Super Orange Cat, and that is all.